For everybody who doesn't know, I'm Trisha Duffin. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Gavel. I'm very excited to do this webinar about our Gavel Exec platform. What we're going to cover today is mostly about how to utilize Gavel Exec within your whole firm. This allows you to be able to maximize all the consistency and make sure that everyone's working from the same tools, rules, and playbooks that your firm has set and standardized for your specific contracts, documents, things like that as well. Our agenda today is going to talk about the next generation of legal technology. Is it about replacing lawyers? It's about giving them superpowers. We've got to talk a little bit about this real quick, just because I think there is a lot of misconceptions about how AI and legal tech in general can feel like a replacement tools. These are not meant to be replacement tools, but enhancement tools. These are things that are going to allow you to do your job more robustly while maintaining, certain consistency across the board for all of your clients by utilizing the Gavel suite of tools. We have our workflows, which allow you to automate complex documents, and then our exec, which focuses more on the redlining and maintaining consistency with your rules, contracts, and playbooks there. So if you'd like to play along with us as we are doing this webinar, feel free to go to gavel.io/exec. Click the big purple button. You're going to download the add-in and sign up for an account. And that will allow you access to the Gavel Exec platform. This way you can go ahead and get started, get a feel for it. You get about 15 runs there to just really see the platform in action with your bespoke documents and contracts. It's a great way to just get started and get your hands in and get a feel for it. If not, don't worry, because we will have a special offer at the end and you can sign up later. And that way you can explore it after the webinar as well. Speaking of the webinar today, we're going to talk, Lonnie and I, and walk you guys through how Gavel Exec can connect to your firm. Lonnie is here as well. You'll hear from him soon. We have a couple demos for you about running a playbook at Gavel Exec and what that means and looks like. And then I'm going to show you how to redline, accept the red lines, and then run it through projects. This is a different type of platform, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Then we'll talk about adding documents to your projects so that you can create a real robust toolbook, in essence, to run your contracts against, and then giving access to your team members. So then how do you actually give this to the rest of your firm and the rest of your team members there? At the end, we'll have a Q&A. So if any questions you guys have, feel free to also throw it into the chat. We do have a couple people that are here right now live that can answer some questions if you have them live while we're here. At the very end, you're going to get an exclusive discount for your first month of Gavel Exec. So you'll want to stick around all the way through the end to get your code so that you guys can get a discount on your first month of Gavel Exec. So today we're going to talk about me as a, quote, senior attorney of my firm, my gorgeous firm, and I've just hired Lonnie as a junior associate. And Lonnie is going to be drafting his first severance agreement for a California client that we have. And this is a separation and severance agreement. We have a boilerplate of it, but in order for him to learn our actual rules, our standards, and the things that we consider in our firm important to follow when we're doing certain types of employment agreements, I'm asking him to use our new Gavel Exec playbook to start learning more about what are the rules and regulations and standards that we have as a company when it comes to the contracts that we produce for our clients. So Lonnie Foote here is our customer success manager. He is going to be our junior associate today. He is going to get started at just getting started at the firm and is looking at this tool as a way to learn more. And then hopefully, if he does well, we'll see, we'll get him to move up and get access to the project to build his own projects and to build his own additional documents and contracts on top of that project. So as an overview, this is kind of where we're going to start the next part of our journey here, where I'm going to pass this on to Lonnie.
All right, so I'm Lonnie, and I'm excited because it's my first day. Trisha hired me. I feel really good. And also, what I think is awesome is like I just passed the bar, so I know everything already. So I probably don't even need all this like Gavel Exec stuff. But I'm gonna check it out anyways because Trisha told me to. And so what I'm gonna do is look through the separation and severance agreement and look through it and pretend I know what's going on. And then what I'm gonna do is what she told me to do, which is to open Playbooks. Um, and this is where we have all of our like firm standards, and some of them are built for different states, and you can build these all yourself as a firm, but you also have access to these. These come with Gavel. And so what I'm going to do is open up this playbook here, the employee handbook in California, because that's the one that we want to focus on and kind of run our separation and severance agreement through. And this is going to allow me to learn a lot about all of the different rules and standards in California. And so as this loads, it's going to show me a wide variety of rules that we've come up with that are in accordance with the separation and severance agreements and employee handbooks in California. Let me reload this thing real quick. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and reload one more time. But as I do that, there on every playbook, there is a play button. And so on the play button, you click it and you can decide if you want to run all of your rules or just like each individual one. And so it'll show you the rule and it'll show you if it passed or not, if your agreement meets um, each rule or not. And then what you can do is it'll propose changes for you that you can decide whether you want to put into your document or not. Um, so bear with me, give me a second, but I'll show you how that works. All right, cool. It's my first day at the firm. I'm still figuring things out myself. So in this employee handbook, California, you see there's 56 rules here. And there's a lot of them. And so this is an employee handbook, whereas like this is a separation and severance agreement. So most of these aren't going to apply. But what I'm going to do is just run all of them, right? Just so you can see what it's like to run any document. And this can be, some people use this in negotiation, some people use this for their clients that are more businesses to kind of just go through and redline and make changes to their agreement. So it's running right now, and you'll see X's start to come up. The X's mean that there is nothing in this agreement that satisfies the rule that's been placed in here for each of these. And then you'll see a couple of check marks down here because we do actually have a couple that do, right? So this would allow me to say I click on this one, at will employment, as a new attorney that thought I knew everything, to actually go in here and really learn about the standards that this firm has. So I can go in and click on the rule itself. The rule is to ensure that the handbook explicitly states that the employment is at will. And I'm pretty sure you all know what that means, so I don't have to explain too much of that. And it'll also tell me why it failed, right? Because sometimes it's not just like, oh, there's nothing in here that refers to it. Sometimes it's not as airtight as the rule as we need it to be for our standards, right? And so it gives us a failure reason here, and then it tells us what the proposed change is. And now when that change pops up, it allows me to decide whether I want to put that in the agreement or not, right? So um, here, all this is going to do is just add, apply the change if I'd like. I can click on it, it'll show me where it is. It's obviously like right here, and then I'll click apply change. And so now I have a red line with just one extra sentence, but it makes a world of a difference, as you all know. And so I'm going to add another one in here. Let's go down to, it's a good one, confidentiality. Let's do confidentiality and trade secrets policy. Let's do that one. This is a rule here that's also been placed in here. And again, these rules, these specific rules are all ones that Gavel has created. You can create your own, but you'll have access to these if you'd like. And so here, what I'm going to do is also throw this confidentiality and trade secrets rule in there. And it's going to be it should be a bit longer because I don't have too much. Like you see, this confidentiality is fairly short here. Um, and all about security, all about confidentiality. So we're going to have to beef this up a bit. And so you can see all the changes that Gavel Exec is changing and adding based on our rules. So we have those two there. And now what I'm going to do, because I worked so hard, it took me so long to do this and figure this out, um, is save it. And then I'm going to pass this back over to Trisha via email and say, hey, did I do a good job for my first day? And she'll take it from there. So give me 1 second to email this to her and um, she'll pick up. I just sent it, so I think we're good. Nice.
And I just got it. Here we go. Hi. I realized I wasn't muted. So I was super excited that Lonnie was able to get through our exec playbook and be able to utilize it, learn more about what our standards are for our California clients and their employee handbooks that we've generated for them, and then being able to make sure that we have matched what these standards are for the playbook. Now, at this level, as a senior attorney, I obviously want to be able to review the different information that Lonnie has provided, so I can review through and accept or reject any of these as I go through, like any major redlining that you would have. So I'm going to go ahead and accept the wonderful work that Lonnie has done here. So obviously, I'm so quick into understanding this. And I was like, oh, okay, these are wonderful. But I know that my job's not done, obviously, as an attorney. We still need to like dig in deeper. And part of this part that we're going to talk about next in Gavel Exec is projects. And so if you are an attorney that has a kind of specificity with your clients on what their needs are for their organization or company, or within their agreements or terms that they have, I can start utilizing a thing called projects. And projects allow you to narrow down more into specific use cases for. So a playbook is a little bit more broader, has a little bit general idea of rules and things that we want to agree with. What projects do are allow you to create different instructions. And in essence, you're almost molding your own AI based off of prior agreements, if you want to attach them, different standards and agreements that you have in files. So I can upload files. And this one, I have a standards for severance that we have, a documentation that we have, internal document. I have an example from an international version, and then I have a sample separation and agreement and release from our California system that I use as my files to compare from. And what this is doing is giving our AI system some rules and regulations to kind of look off of. I also have instructions. So if there are specific instructions that I know are based on certain areas of the law, so we have different standards for California that we might want to add for these people. You can add these instructions and remove these instructions based off of what you need for this particular client. And what's nice about the projects is then I can actually start a chat and communicate with the AI that I am, in essence, creating in-house to look through this template and give me some feedback on what I can change and update. So the first thing I always like to do, I'm going to go ahead and copy this in so you don't have to watch me tediously type this in. This is a question I like to prompt with: are any gaps or missing pieces in this boilerplate agreement? And what this allows the overall AI to do, exec to do, is to look at the whole boilerplate agreement that we have here and give me just a big picture view. And what it does provide is pretty lengthy. It's a pretty amazing in-depth look at what are some potential gaps, and will give you certain instructions with certain like thoughts of like how you can implement some of these changes. It's going to take a little bit of a second here. All of the Gavel Exec works super speedily when you're not sharing screens with a bunch of people on a Zoom. We have realized sometimes in our demos, a little bit lag versus when you're in the actual product mode. So some of the things we're looking at here, if I look at the very top here, it's going to go through and give me some of the core terms dates that are incomplete or have some placeholders. Obviously, we might have some, age-related case things that we need to incorporate depending on the age of the employee. We have different kind of scopes, the releases and remedies, things like this, right? We're looking at COBRA for severance if we are helping them with their, health and continuation. But these are a lot of heady things to get through. As I go through at the end though, what's nice is there's like a quick win checklist where you can go through and look at that. And then it gives you some helpful, options. So if you'd like, I can draft redline language for a lot of those things and the gaps it found. From here, now I have a kind of an idea of what it wants from me in order to get the red lines that might be the most beneficial for us. So I like to follow up with a chat into our system that's going to talk about the company, right? So we're going to talk for ABC Company. It's a California company. It's a unilateral release, and the employee is between 30 and 35. With no known equity awards or plans. This should include a 6-month non-solicitation and non-compete clause and the standard COBRA language, draft a red line now, right? So this is what I'm just kind of giving it its, understanding to go to the next bit, which is going to go into our redlining. So you can ask it for just information. It doesn't need to be something that is particularly redlined, but if you're just wanting to be like, hey, from this project or a prior agreement, look at this and then am I missing something? Or what is this rules and standards that we have in our project for COBRA related, care, continuing healthcare after termination. So I think there are ways that, you can utilize exec for just more information gathering and resource gathering, but also for this redlining tool. This is going to take a little bit of a second here, but we're going to start seeing them kind of trickle in as we go. And we're going to see how it's going to look for all the different areas and give me a bunch of information on what I can add or not add to that, right? All right, so let me go ahead and start at the top of the redlining. I can actually click on the show, and it's going to take me directly to where this is here. And this is pretty much just changing the information that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes, I accept that so that we can make those changes. Same with the separation date and the severance amounts, things like that. But now we're going to look into the COBRA information. So if I go into here to show, we'll see that it includes an element to claims arising after this. We want to also add more. This really does not waive the rights that cannot be waived as a matter of law. Now you can always reject as well. If you are like, no, I don't think I want to include this one, you can reject that one to say, no, we're not going to include it. And then it will remove it from the list of redlining for you. If I want to go down to the restrictive covenants that I'm going to add here, obviously what we want to do is in essence, create a whole new clause or section that's about this restrictive covenants. So what's nice about this is it does understand and it will help with the formatting as well. So once I input that in and say, yes, let's move forward, we may have some changes we have to make to this when it comes to formatting, but it will allow you to actually put that date in here or that information in here as well. Okay. Let's go ahead and say that we've accepted these and I have this now as my new contract. And I've gone through my Gavel Exec. I've decided which ones I want to add or not add. I can go to my review and accept my changes. And we'll go there. Cool. Once I've accepted all my changes, now I want to actually create this as separation agreement because it's so excellent and we've done such a wonderful job. I'm going to actually add this to my projects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my Gavel Exec. And when I go to my projects here, if I go to my employment project, I can add new files or instructions. So if there are specific things that I wanted to add, like maybe that COBRA claim, I could actually highlight that and add that as an instruction, or I could actually have this saved version of my separation and service agreement here, and then I can add this file to the documents here. So if I go ahead and add that, it's going to now be a part of our system and our projects here. Instructions the same way. If I click on the instructions, I can, see what I have, but I can also add instructions. And down at the bottom here, you can just paste in certain things that they're like, oh, I really like that Cobra language, and I want to make sure that that's in the language for the future. Lastly, once I've had these done, I have options to then share it with my workspace. So on Gavel workspace, exec workspaces, you have a workspace where you can invite members into your workspaces. You can also create different workspaces for different practice areas. So say you have a bunch of attorneys that you work with that do, real estate law, and then you have other ones that do, tax and foreclosure law. You might be able to then, have two separate workspaces to work with those different attorneys, associates, paralegals, etc. in your firm. You can add them to your workspace, and then from there, you'd be able to add them to your projects. So if I click on my employment project here, I have this little share project button. With this, I have options, right? So I can, decide what type of access I want people to have, and I can add a user. As you see here, Lonnie is suggested first as one of my members of my workspace for me to be able to send this to. If I decided I wanted just everyone in my workspace, so this is everybody who's in this workspace, just to have automatic access to this, I can actually change this to full access or read only. And read only means I can run it, I can have it play off of it, but I can't add anything to it. So this allows, different access. If you want it to just be individual, I can invite that way. Or if you want to say anybody in my workspace has full access to this, that's what you can decide to do. In this example, I'm going to have remove. Cool. I'm going to actually send it to Lonnie individually, and I'm going to give him, because he did such a great job, full access to this. So this way he can move forward and work his way towards becoming a senior attorney here. And so now that I've sent that to Lonnie, I'm going to go ahead and see if where he's at in his process.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen again. I'm such a hard worker. Um, let's see here. So now I'm reopening my Gavel Exec. And I'm going to click on projects, and then we'll see if I have it. Let's see. Well, I got to go to the right workspace first. All right. And so I promise you, this was not here earlier. She just shared it with me just now. So here it is, the employment separation and severance, and I can go in and see the files. I can see the ones that were added. Just now, I can see the instructions as well, which will give me even more context as I continue to work with these agreements, and more knowledge as I continue to work my way up. I won't just get coffee for everyone. I'll also, do things like this in Gavel Exec. Yeah.
Wonderful. So that kind of goes through an example of how you can utilize a Gavel within your team so that you can share your different projects, your different playbooks, etc. with your team. But also just being able to share your documents and then make sure that the standards and the rules that you guys have created for your team follow through. At this point, I'd love to open this up to some Q&A. I know some of these are some of our frequently asked questions here, but if you had any specific questions you wanted to ask, you throw it into the chat, or if you'd like, you can just go ahead and unmute and ask away.
Hi, Trisha. I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a limit on the amount of users that you can have within a Gavel Exec account?
No, every user is their own has their own account with it, so they're all just seats on there. There's no limit on how many you can have inside of your workspaces. I know we covered everything and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm practically an expert and exec. If you do have any other questions, feel free to go ahead and send us an email at help at gavel.io. We can definitely answer any questions there. Want to kind of also go through what this can do. There's no setup or pre-training required. Like I said, you can just go to gavel.io/exec so that you can just start utilizing it and testing it against your current contracts and documents. There we go. There are no mandatory sales calls. It is a self-serve product and platform. You can free to try, but it's very affordable. We have definitely got a lot of great feedback on how well it is trained and how well it is able to answer. And quickly, it's better to get your full set of your terms and agreements at such an affordable cost. And it's effective in a lot of practice areas. Lonnie did a great webinar last week that dealt more with, was a corporate law, I believe. Yeah. Yes. Okay, cool. And then this one is obviously, we talked a lot about employment law. Next week, I will also have a webinar that's going to talk a little bit more about how our Gavel workflow experience pushes into the Gavel exec experience. And I'm going to be utilizing estate planning, which is not something that we often think about when we think about redlining, or we think about utilizing something like a redlining tool for estate planning. But this is a really robust way for you to take those documents that you create through Gavel workflows into your exec product. So we're very excited to show that one next Wednesday for our webinar Wednesdays of August.